The storm outside was merciless, but it was nothing compared to the storm in Amelia's chest. Each raindrop striking the mansion windows sounded like an echo of her own breaking heart, pounding with a rhythm of grief. She stood at the top of the marble staircase, the grandeur of the house mocking her in its coldness, and pressed her trembling hand against her swollen belly. Inside her, a tiny life was stirring, unaware of the devastation happening in the world it was about to enter. Below, Alexander's polished shoes clicked against the marble floor as he strode toward the heavy front doors, his figure tall and unshakable, just as it had always been. Except tonight, his strength was not hers to lean on. Tonight, it was the wall that shut her out. She whispered his name, barely audible above the roar of the rain and the pounding in her ears, but he didn't turn. His hand gripped the doorknob with the same confidence he once held her hand with, but now it belonged to someone else, someone younger, fresher, someone he believed made him feel alive again. The door opened, a gush of stormy air swept in, and without hesitation, he stepped into the night, into his sleek black car, into a life that no longer included her. Not once did he look back. The sound of the car engine revving up was like the tearing of paper, the final rip in the story of their love. She stood frozen, the echo of that sound embedding itself in her memory like a scar. For a long time, Amelia didn't move. She couldn't. Her body swayed slightly, her knees weak, as if even the marble beneath her feet no longer wanted to hold her. She wrapped her arms around her belly, whispering to her unborn child, "I'm still here. I'll always be here." But even as she said it, her voice broke, the words trembling on her lips, soaked in disbelief. How could he? How could the man who once vowed to protect her, to cherish her, to build forever by her side, walk away when she needed him most? Life had not been easy for Amelia, even before Alexander. She had grown up in a small, weathered house, with a mother who worked herself to exhaustion just to keep food on the table. Her father had left when she was little, leaving her with the ache of abandonment long before she even understood what the word meant. She remembered the quiet dinners, the sound of her mother's tired sighs, the way she would pretend not to notice how often the bills went unpaid. It was in that childhood of scarcity that Amelia learned resilience, though she never imagined she'd need to draw from it again after meeting Alexander. Meeting him had felt like stepping into a dream. He was magnetic, powerful, the kind of man who filled a room with his presence. But beneath the layers of wealth and authority, he had shown her tenderness. He had looked at her not as the girl from the struggling neighborhood, but as a woman who deserved to be seen, loved, and treasured. Their romance had been a whirlwind, lavish dates under city lights, whispered promises under the stars, a wedding that looked like something from a movie. When he slid the diamond ring on her finger, she thought she had finally found her forever. For years, Amelia believed in the story they were writing together. They traveled, they laughed, they dreamed. The mansion they built was not just a house but a symbol of their love. And when the doctors finally confirmed her pregnancy after years of hoping, she thought it was the missing piece that would make their world complete. She imagined Alexander's smile when he held their baby for the first time. She imagined late nights together, rocking their child to sleep. She imagined growing old beside the man who had once promised her the world. But fairy tales can curdle. The first cracks in their marriage appeared. Slowly, like hairline fractures in glass that you don't notice until it suddenly shatters. Alexander started coming home late, his excuses vague. He was often distracted, his phone buzzing with messages he claimed were from work. Amelia told herself not to worry. She reminded herself that billionaires lived busy lives, that their empire demanded his attention. But somewhere deep down, her instinct screamed. Then came the trips, supposedly urgent meetings in distant cities that didn't match the calendar she quietly checked. And one night, while folding his shirt, her trembling hand brushed across a faint lipstick stain on his collar. She confronted him, her voice shaking, her heart in her throat, but he denied it. He cupped her face, swore it was nothing, swore that she was imagining things. She wanted so badly to believe him, to cling to the fairy tale. She told herself it was just stress, that their baby would bring them closer again. She prayed for that. But the truth has a cruel way of clawing its way out. When Alexander finally confessed, when he told her flatly that he was leaving her for someone else, it was as if the world collapsed. He didn't soften the words. He didn't cushion the blow. He said it like a man signing a contract, like the matter was settled, like her feelings were irrelevant. He told her the mistress made him feel alive, that she reminded him of a version of himself he thought he had lost. And then, without even glancing at her swollen belly, he turned his back on the life they had built. The nights that followed were endless oceans of grief. Amelia lay awake, her hands on her stomach, her tears soaking the silk sheets. She cried not just for herself, but for the child who would never know the father's love in the way she had imagined. She wandered through the mansion like a ghost, each room a cruel reminder of the life she had lost. The nursery they had started decorating mocked her with its unfinished walls, the crib standing empty like a symbol of abandonment. The staff whispered behind her back, their pity etched in their eyes. How could he do this now? When she's carrying his child. They murmured when they thought she couldn't hear. But pity didn't soothe her. It only deepened the hollowness inside her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Alexander's retreating figure, heard the echo of that door slamming shut. Yet, even in the depths of her despair, a flicker of something else began to stir, a memory of her mother's voice. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about standing up again and again. The words haunted her, but slowly, they began to guide her. Amelia realized that as much as she wanted to crumble, she couldn't. Not now. Not when another life depended on her. With trembling steps, she began to rise. She stopped waiting for calls that never came. She stopped replaying the night he left in her head. Instead, she turned her gaze toward the future. Toward the tiny heartbeat inside her that deserved more than tears and bitterness. Amelia didn't know exactly how she would survive, but she knew she would. She had no choice. And while she began the quiet, painful work of piecing herself back together, somewhere out there, Alexander was sinking into a world of shadows.